What up, dudes? You are on another episode of the Spinoff Show. And on this particular episode, I have on a guy that I've been wanting to have on for a bit now. You might have heard about him before if you listen to Voice from the Underground, the podcast. He is one of the hosts. No, this isn't TJ Johnson, my lover, my BFF. This is actually Jasen Dutch, who's been on the Jock and Nerd podcast. I've been on his show. I've been wanting to have him on for a while because, to be completely honest with everybody, I don't know that much about politics. It's not something I follow on a day-to-day basis. But there's some interesting political issues that have come up in the past week or two that I wanted to talk to Jasen about and just get his perspective on and learn a little bit more about. We talk about the Alabama abortion laws. We talk about what's going on in Iran. We talk about the current state of politics and where it's going. We do dabble into some pop culture stuff towards the end. But this is a pretty politically focused podcast, and I'm glad to have had Jasen on because, frankly, he's very well-informed, much more well-informed than I am, and I really appreciate his perspective on this stuff. So I hope you enjoy the show. On this particular episode, you are now listening to the great and powerful Jasen Dutch from the Voice from the Underground podcast. This is the Jock Spinoff Show. What's up, Jasen? How's it going, buddy?
What's up, the Jock? What's happening, buddy?
The Jock. I like that you still refer to me as the Jock instead of. And you've known my name, and you still just go the Jock.
You know, the Jock. I know a lot of Tonys.
That's true. Okay, fine.
You know, I only know one, the Jock.
I do have to say right off the bat that just for the listener, I wanted TJ on this show, but he couldn't do this, so I got you. To come fill in as a Voice from the Underground backup guest. So
yeah, we all know about, you know, the love relationship that you and TJ have with each other. It's adorable, you know.
I want everyone to know that he is my side piece. I'm not his side piece.
Yeah. Well, make sure. I don't know. He might
disagree.
He might disagree.
He's
big, strong black man. He
comes on my show, so I'm the one with the burner phone that he has to dial. He only gets reached out to when I want to be reaching out. So. Oh,
okay. So you got it on that one. You got that one way.
Yeah, right. I don't call me on from this hour.
And you better
to this
answer.
Hour.
Damn it.
And when I do call you better fucking drop what you're doing.
Drop what you're doing and get your ass over here. Exactly. That's the way that it was. You know, that's. Hey, watch out for the Me Too movement, though. Watch out, because TJ might join it and come back on you.
Dude, there's so I've been wanting to have you on for a while. Obviously.
Why?
Because, man, you know so much about fucking everything. Also, I mean, I don't know a ton about politics, so this is where I can kind of dive in a little bit with you, but wherever this goes, we go.
Right.
I'm just going to start off real hot.
Okay.
What's going on in Alabama?
A lot of fucking craziness. You know, it's... So, Alabama is, you know, and for those who don't know, you know, I'm not a Democrat. I always have to make sure that I say that. I don't like to be associated with Democrats.
You're a moderate, as that's what you would say, right?
I'm what you would call a radical centrist. I believe in centrism. I think that there's good things on the right, and I think that there's good things on the left, and I advocate for, like, my whole deal in life is advocating for, you know, common sense policy. Okay. And, you know, that's why our podcast is there. And what's happening in Alabama and Missouri and Georgia is not common sense. And by the by,
so this is happening not only in Alabama, but Missouri and Georgia?
The Alabama, I'm off the top of my head, I'm not remembering the details of the Georgia law.
Okay.
The Alabama law, I do know the details of it. And let's just say when Pat fucking Robertson tells you that it's going too far, and Pat Robertson is a crazy person, you know that law has gone too far. You know, and it comes on the heels of I mean, this is a response to the Virginia and New York abortion laws, which are the other side of the world. You know what I mean? The polar opposite, where they basically allow abortion up until conception.
Which is also kind of crazy.
Which is also not something that I'm comfortable with. You know what I mean? So
what? Just for people that don't know, what's the Alabama law that came out?
The Alabama law, it's either 6 or 8 weeks. I may be juxtaposing Georgia with Alabama. The Missouri law is not quite as radical. Alabama is very radical, and the worst part about it is it outlaws abortion after a heartbeat can be detected, which is about, I want to say 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. It could be 8. I could be mistaken on that. Okay. But either way, that's
and it's abortion in, I believe, in all cases, right?
And that's the part that it goes too far.
Yeah.
I mean, really, really breaks the bank when you get down to that, because there's a case of a 12-year-old girl who was raped by a family member. Oof. And you're telling me that you can't terminate that pregnancy? You know, it's this little girl's fault that her uncle decided to have sex with her. Yeah. I mean, it's that is sickening to me. Mm-hmm. You know, and
how is this constitutional though with Roe versus Wade?
Roe versus Wade isn't necessarily constitutional on its own. Roe v. Wade is a much debated law, but I mean it's not, abortion is not mentioned in the Bill of Rights.
Right.
So
right.
You know, you don't have any context back then. It wasn't a thing. You know, the founding fathers and the framers of the Constitution, which by the way are two separate things, you know, they couldn't envision abortion at the time, you know, because so many people lost babies, you know, just in those days, because there was a high mortality rate with infants, that the thought of abortion was probably not something that anyone ever even had.
Right.
It's more of it's an unfortunate symptom of progressive society. The problem is that there's no such thing as pro-abortion. Nobody's pro-abortion. The problem with the conversation is that people don't talk to each other about it. They're not interested in each other's opinions.
Well, also, like, you know, the people that are anti-abortion, they don't say they're anti-abortion. They say they're pro-life, right, which puts you in a position where, okay, well, if you're anti-life, then you're an evil person, which they're pro-life. Very much simplifies the conversation.
Yeah, they're pro-life when it comes to abortion, but they're not pro-life when it comes to guns. It's astonishing to me. But you have to look. You can't just say that and not turn that statement around. Mm-hmm. You know, the left is is anti-gun but pro-abortion. You know, you can't
it's tough,
just be dishonest and say, well, it only goes to the right. Because the left has some hypocrisy here as well. You know, both of these political parties use the same argument of it's too slippery of a slope, so I don't want to take the first step when it comes to guns, when it comes to abortion, and also when it comes to immigration. You know, they don't want to they don't want to give a little bit on abortion because they're afraid that they're going to outlaw it all the way. The right doesn't want to give a little bit on guns, like even something outrageous like banning AR-15s, I'm sorry, which I think is a common sense thing. You may want an AR-15, you do not need it.
Right.
No one needs it. Okay, you know, your home is not being attacked by ninjas.
Yeah, you're not at war at your home.
You are not
hopefully.
Well, and even if you were,
you wouldn't need that.
Who would you be going to war with?
Right.
You know, you're going to go to war with the U.S. government.
Right.
The troops that you get mad because Colin Kaepernick kneeled, and you, because you love these troops so much, but yet you want to protect yourself from them because you don't trust that. Again, hypocrisy. It makes no sense to me.
Where do you fall though personally on? I mean, and this is a tough question. If you don't want to answer, on abortion.
I think so. I have some personal experience here. You know,
Okay.
I had a girl have an abortion twice. Both times I did not want the abortion to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The man is often forgotten about in the abortion situation, you know, and for good reason.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely, this week I saw a lot of stuff online. Sorry to interrupt. A lot of stuff online with girls posting, men don't get to decide. Men don't get to decide.
No, but there's the ultra feminists. Sometimes they will forget that, you know, there was a man involved in the creation of this baby as well.
Right.
Or creation of the fetus, whatever you want to call it. You know, women are not capable of having babies by themselves. There's no, you know, the Immaculate Conception is a myth.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to the Bible bangers.
You might stir something up there. Okay, keep going.
Well, I mean, when it comes to religion, I'm sure we'll talk about that because that's my other area. But as far as abortion goes, you know, I think abortion is abhorrent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a I've been in the abortion clinic, sitting next to someone who was having it, and I didn't want it to happen, and I went out in the car and cried my eyeballs out.
Yikes, man! That's
you know what I mean. So to tell it for a feminist to sit there and tell me that I don't have any say, you can seriously go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? So it's now at the same time, I'm not expecting you to do what I say because of the fact that that's what I want you to do. I'm not trying to take control so much as I just want you to hear my point of view.
Yeah, for someone for a male that didn't rape or, you know, commit some sort of incest and he actually cares, it's important to know that he this matters to him too.
Yeah, yes. And there, so you have to be honest intellectually when it comes to, you know, women, and there are terrible risks when it comes to pregnancy. You know,
sure.
We had just recently, so I am sensitive to this, but just recently, my son has autism, and he works with Easter Seals, and Easter Seals sends a bunch of young girls to the house, all, you know, 25 to 30 years old, and they just, you know, that's their MO, is they send young girls to the house. And if you didn't know any better, you'd think I was like some hot single guy. I got all these young, you know,
you're
Hispanic
hot,
women coming in.
You're definitely hot.
Okay, I don't know what you're looking at, but
maybe I was looking at pictures. That's TJ? Never mind. I'm sorry.
Oh, see, there you go, Tej. So you get to call him Tej. I don't. That's what it is. So I could just see you guys kissing like Daenerys and Jon. You know, like he wants to kiss, but he doesn't. He pushes you away, and then you shove a knife in him. But yeah, I don't even remember what the hell I was. I don't even remember.
Oh, you were talking about the Easter Seals,
right? So Easter Seals. Where I was going to was with pregnancy, and there was a girl who was pregnant. Her name is Demi, and pretty young girl, probably, you know, I think in her senior year of college, was probably 8.5 months pregnant and coming to our house 4 to 5 times a week to, you know, do the observational play therapy with my son, Steven. And, you know, Steven loved her. I mean, loved her to death. She went on maternity leave and died the next day.
Yikes.
You know,
Jesus.
Just had complications with the pregnancy that, you know, and they tried to save the baby. Baby lived for about a day. You know,
Man.
That's heartbreaking. You know, so I understand that there are risks, real, actual risks with pregnancy. I mean, we talked before about the mortality rate. You know, I have a family, you know, being a white person, it's lucky I have some sort of lineage, right? Which is a blessing. I can go back and like trace my family roots. And, you know, I go to we actually, my family used to own basically their own cemetery. It's not owned by our family anymore, but we owned it until like the 40s, 50s. And like you go walk through the cemetery and you see mothers, you know, who died at age 19 and the baby born and died the same day. Like on the regular. So, obviously these risks are real. But with that being said, that is, to me, it's a life inside of you. And now there's a difference between being a life and being an independent life form. This is such a difficult thing to talk about. And if you have to be able to look at both sides. But when you tell me that I don't have a voice because I have a penis, then that makes me want to tell you what I think just a little bit louder, and
right. I mean, that argument for me is also, I mean, it's like, I'm sure if there's people that listen to this, they're gonna be like, it's two men talking. Of course, they're gonna agree with each other. But I think you got to look at it from just an objective point of view. That's the same thing as telling someone because they're black, they don't have an opinion in Hispanic matters or white it's the same thing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all people. There's some we all should be able to think rationally, and we all have stakes in this. We all
right. So that's a really good point. I have to stew on that one, but why are you? The question becomes, to the woman, why are you having an abortion?
Right.
What is the reason? And whatever your reason is fine. But usually that reason is going to be, I'm not in a position in my life to raise a child right now.
Right.
And that's fine. If the father, however, says, I will take it, I will raise the baby, to me, it sort of takes that argument away, because you've now been told that you don't have to, right? So now it just becomes, I just don't want to carry a baby for 9 months, and if that's how you feel, then that's fine. That you're being honest with the reason why you want to have an abortion. I don't feel like going through a pregnancy. Mm-hmm. Okay, I've never gone through one. I never will. I've gone through one as a man, and believe me, it was fucking brutal 4 times, especially my 4-year-old, watching my wife try to deliver this baby. It was like, she had a rough pregnancy, and it was tough, but as far as I fall on abortion, I think that you should listen to the man. Mm-hmm. You don't have to agree with him, but you should listen to the father, number one. And then number two, you should act really fucking quickly out of respect for that life that you are carrying, whether or not you believe it's viable outside of the womb. If you would, rather, if you have like a mouse, are you going to, in your house, do you want to smash and kill that mouse, or do you want to get it out of your house? Right. It's like, are you violent with little tiny, non-human things? I would think you'd treat the baby similarly, right? Like, at least have respect for the fact that it is there. So shit or get off the pot quickly.
Well, also the baby also has potential for greatness, whereas a mouse has potential for or a mouse.
When people will say that a lot, they'll say, well, how do you know that you're not, that baby won't grow up to be the person who cures cancer? And, that's easily beaten by,
oh yeah.
When I say greatness, to be a rapist,
but when I say greatness, I mean, a human has much further brain capabilities than, most animals, most, if not all animals out there. That's what I'm saying.
Except for the velociraptor, according to Jurassic Park. But yeah, I mean, it's the Libertarian Party stance on abortion is we have no stance. It's, and there's good reason for that. It's, hey,
I like that.
There's good evidence on both sides. There's compelling evidence. If you are being intellectually honest with yourself, there is compelling evidence on both sides of this argument. People say, well, this has been debunked. That's been debunked. No, it hasn't. I can tell you assuredly that neither argument has been debunked. So the issue I have on this is with the right wing. Stop telling me that you like small government and then trying to impose laws on people's rights. That's what it comes down to. Put a room full of women together and let them decide. I don't, that's fine. As long as you listen, the individual female listens to the guy, that's all I care about. So
you know what I think about it?
What's that?
I kind of like the libertarian approach of I don't have a stand. I think it's safe sometimes to be like, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. On one hand, I completely agree with the right's point of view that it's a life, and as long as it's not murder or rape or incest, not murder, but rape or incest, at the end of the day, that is still a life inside of you, and if that life is aborted, it sort of seems also like murder, and But then I also agree, like if a woman has a baby in her and has the choice and has all the options in front of her, it's also her body. I don't know what the right answer is to it. And I don't even know when the right time.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't even know when the right time is for an abortion. Like I don't know. I don't think it should be happening where, like you said,
8,
New
9
York,
months.
8,
right.
9 months. That seems insane to me. And
Right.
I've seen a lot of stuff where heartbeats start at what? How long in?
Detectable is at 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean 6 weeks, and brain activity starts pretty soon, right?
That one I'm not 100% certain of, but I mean it's just there is no right answer here. It's just, but I think the right wing goes about it the wrong way,
Right.
as they have had a tendency to do for years. I mean, the moral majority, Jerry Falwell, in the 80s, I mean, that they, of course, they preach abstinence, and that's fine if you want to abstain. That's obviously the best thing.
Sure.
I know
that's the best form of birth control, right?
Right. People will get mad at you for talking about abstinence. I preach abstinence with my 17-year-old. You crazy? You think I'm not going to? I'm not foolish either, but but the right certainly goes about this wrong. Look, your job as so-called Christians is to evangelize, not to rip on people on Twitter and talk shit about how they're going to go to hell. It's act like, if you want to be a Christian, act like the Christian and actually do what the book says. Mm-hmm. And Christians hate me because I will quote scripture to them that completely just throws their belief system out of the window, and they'll say, well, that's not biblical. I'm like, it's literally in the book. Mm. You have to, right. You can't pretend that it doesn't say that, right? And or you can't add something to the book that it doesn't say. Right. The Bible doesn't say anything about abortion. So don't tell me that it's against the wishes of God.
Right. Just some quick stats. Sorry. And I don't know how accurate this is. This is off one of my friends' Facebooks that was posting about this and just trying to invoke a little discussion. Mm-hmm. So conception, obviously, in the moment when the egg's fertilized. 1 week in is called implementation, when the egg is in the womb. Heartbeat can be detected at around 6 weeks. Brain activity, again, don't know how accurate this is, around 7 weeks. Baby can make a fist, and the sex can be determined at 12 weeks. Viability outside the womb, 22 weeks. Fingerprints have formed, baby can hear, 24 weeks, and then birth usually 40 weeks.
Right. The question becomes, when does it become an independent life form?
Right. And I don't know.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
I don't know either. Personally, I think you should shit or get off the pot. As far as women go, I really believe that to be responsible and just to be a humane person, unless you find out, like this young lady who died, our autism coach,
right?
Unless you find out something late,
some sort of health that can bend,
you should make
you or the kid,
you should make your decision early. I find it very difficult to believe that you can be 5 months pregnant and not know that you're pregnant. I'm sure it's happened, but I think that that's probably an exception rather than the rule. Most of the time when I've been in relationships, and you've probably, especially when you're dating, the girl who I would be sleeping with was taking birth control tests like all the freaking time, timing her period like you couldn't believe. So to tell me that you missed a period once is one thing, but you tell you missed it 4 times. I don't know about that. It's be responsible would be my message. At least within the first trimester, take care of that, because also for cost reasons, it costs more every time that you wait.
Yeah.
You know, a late term abortion, like what we talked about, 8-9 months, costs around $18,000.
Jesus Christ.
You know what I mean? So that's something that you have to have some degree of privilege to do anyway, unless your medical insurance is going to cover it, which is unlikely. You can't just pick up the phone and go book an abortion and get it, you know. So it's, but I guess closing off on this is like I said, the right wing. If you want to bash abortion, you want to state facts, like that's fine. Don't guilt trip. Don't tell people. If you really are a Christian, evangelize that person. Tell them about the love of God. Preach to them about the gospel. And if they decide to become a Christian like you, then they have a higher propensity to not make that choice to have an abortion. That's the way to eradicate abortion, is to spread the good parts about your religion, not tell people you're a piece of shit because you want to kill your baby.
Yeah.
You know, and showing them dismembered body parts. I
think we both can agree with at least for the Alabama law, that it's ludicrous that it's written so that nothing is allowed, no abortion, right? Like even in the cases of rape and
after 6 weeks,
right? 6 weeks, and even in the cases of rape, I mean that seems like insanity to me. I know that.
Well, they just want to get it in front of the Supreme Court. That's all.
Right. Well, I know that statistics say that rape and incest make up less than 10% of abortions. I don't even know.
Yeah, I think it's a small amount.
It's a small amount, but I mean, there's got to be exceptions to everything.
Incest is a lot more prevalent than you may
really
open. Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I know multiple people. My daughter. In fact, it's hard to say. I've never said that on a podcast. My 17-year-old was raped for years by her older brother, my former ex-wife's oldest son.
Oh my God! I'm sorry to hear that.
From the time she was probably 7 to 11. Oh, she has severe PTSD right now.
Jeez.
You know, and she's almost 18. You know, but it's like my other daughter will say, "Why do you treat her differently than me?" Oh, this is why.
How old is your other daughter?
13. So
I mean, she's still not old enough. I mean, she's old enough to kind of start to learn, but not old enough to really understand.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I have a foster sister who is who had that happen to her, and like she was a foster kid that came to live with us when I was probably 5, and she still comes to Christmas. You know, because like she never was adopted, but like she's kind of like my older sister. You know, and that happened to her. This was the reason why she was a foster child. Our nanny, who takes care of our kids, shared that, you know, she was raped by her brother. You know,
crazy.
It's very, very prevalent when you get in these circles and you talk about it. Incest is just a disgusting thing.
No one talks about it, right?
It's it's hard to talk about, right? You know, especially to say that you've been victimized. But, you know, it's like, I understand why Christine Blasey Ford waited 35 years. And I know she wasn't raped. She was sexually assaulted. But, you know, I understand why someone would wait. I mean, what do you gain by talking about it? It doesn't go away. You know, and people have a tendency to judge the victim. You know,
I remember.
You saw what happened to her.
I even saw it at a smaller scale. I remember when Addison Russell's girlfriend or ex-wife came out. I had a few of my friends going, "Well, why is she writing this? She just wants attention." And they couldn't understand. I'm like, "But this, like, I don't know if it happened or not. I don't know if she was beat up or abused or whatever. But what I can say is it is perfectly reasonable to have hid that for a good amount of time and to not feel comfortable talking about it. And there is no right time for it to come out."
Yeah, I mean, I dated a girl who was I was actually sleeping with a girl who was married for a while, like a decade ago, and we were both married to other people, and we were basically having an affair. But I was telling her all the time, "You got to leave this guy, right? This guy used to beat the shit out of her, you know, and I cared about her. I mean, like, you know, we were sleeping together. I wasn't in love with her or anything, but I cared about her. She was a nice girl. You
were a human, and you cared that you heard this was happening.
Yeah, and I mean, it bothered me like that she kept it a secret to almost everybody, but she'd always talk about how great of a dad he is, how he's a good provider, he's actually doesn't mean it, he's going to change. And like women do this, have been doing it for, I guess, millennia. You know what I mean? And that's why the Me Too movement is on its surface, at its root, is a really good thing. It's not good at the branches sometimes, but the roots are really good. And it's just, but women have I completely understand why people don't talk about these types of things. I completely get it. It's not something comfortable to talk about. Nothing like that ever happened to me. But if it had, I'm not sure that I would even talk about it at all.
Right.
I can't say that. That I would. I don't know. What do you
no
think?
one wants to be. I don't know. I know that I'd never want to feel like a victim.
Right.
And I can't imagine feeling more like a victim than if something like that were to happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And especially sexually, like that stuff. A lot of people don't like to talk about that stuff when it's just having sex with someone else, let alone if that act was abused on you, So yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know if I would have the courage to be like, yeah, this happened, and I'm proud, not proud of it, but I'm open to talking about it. Like I don't know if I'd be able to do that.
I don't know, and it's like, I suppose if you get into a forum like this, then maybe those things start to go. Like I've never really talked about what happened to my daughter on my own podcast. It's not like I wouldn't. It's just something that I haven't really done.
Well, I appreciate you sharing.
I suppose there's a less of a possibility that she would hear this than she would of hearing mine. So
I don't think she's going to look mine up. No.
So like mine is a little. It's she listens to my podcast sometimes. I don't think she likes it. I just think she thinks it's funny that her dad has a podcast and her friends will listen to it sometimes. And I live in a town that's very conservative, and my views are very anti-Trump. Mm-hmm. So, not necessarily anti-GOP, but very anti-Trump.
Right.
And, a lot of these kids will be like, your dad's just he's a tree hugger, whatever. He's a libtard or whatever. But not one. I've yet to come across a conservative who can out-debate me. I would love to get my hands on Ben Shapiro. I'd love it.
You think you could take him?
No, I don't. But I'll tell you why I don't think I'd be able to take him. Because he talks too fast, and he thinks he's smarter than I am. So, but he's good at that. But I would have to take. So no, I wouldn't be able to take him on the podcast. If it was online, like a chat thing, I'd destroy him. You know what I mean? Because I will not. It would be one of these situations where, and I listen to Ben Shapiro, right? Like he has some valuable things that he will say. Mm-hmm. When it comes to race, he has no idea what he's talking about. But it would probably be a situation where I would lose the debate because I can't think quickly enough. And then when I listen to it the next day, I'll be like, yeah, this is why he was wrong here, and this is why he was wrong there. You know what I mean? And but in the moment,
it's tough, though.
That's difficult.
That's a skill to come up in the moment and be like, this is why you are off, and here's why, and say it and make your point just as eloquently and as quickly as he's doing it.
Yeah, and he has a team of people that researches, what are my likely talking points, and let's destroy those talking points before the debate even starts with rebuttals to rebuttals to rebuttals. Like 2-3 down the line. He displayed this when he debated Cenk Uygur, who, by the way, I think is going to announce he's going to run for president from the Young Turks. And I mean, Cenk is really good too, and he held his own. But it was clear that it's hard to beat Shapiro. But I would love to get my hands on him still, just because I have these. If the topic were to shift to race, he would find a way to get the topic away from that very quickly. Let's just put it that way, because he's not going to win that conversation with me. But that's the beauty of being in the middle of the political spectrum, is I don't have to defend, for example, I don't have to defend abortion. because I'm not a Democrat, so I don't have, my platform's not tied to that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can pick and choose the pieces from each side of the political spectrum that I think is morally correct and fits my what I'd like to see to make this world better. And it could be that I take 6 pieces from the Democrats and 2 from the GOP. You know, and a lot of people, there's a big thing on the left right now where they don't want to. They think centrists are like the biggest pieces of shit because we're non-committal. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't pick a side. You know, we don't stand our ground. Too soft on the issues. No, that's false. My stance on immigration, for example, is rock solid. But my stance on guns is as well. But they don't have to be in line with you. Just because you don't agree with both of those doesn't mean I didn't pick a side. I picked a side on the issue, not the aggregate political party, if that makes any sense. So
it makes a ton of sense. That's how I feel like, that's what I feel like the right way is.
Most people do.
I don't see how you can be, it can be so binary.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I don't understand people like Candace Owens. Mm-hmm. You know who she is?
Oh, I know exactly who she is.
Yeah,
I learned about her on because she was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and she was quite adamant that global warming wasn't a thing. And I was like, who the hell is this lady? And, so I got to learn about her.
She's a perfect example of someone who sells out for money. She's completely fake, by the way.
I've heard Haas say that a few times too.
Yeah, we both agree that she's fake, and I'll tell you why she's fake.
Yeah,
you know, because she used to be she was a pro-Obama advocate. Like she was a YouTuber.
Okay,
and she was an Obama supporter and always posting, you know, anti-GOP videos. And within the course of a few days, became a hard line right winger. So I'm okay with, like, you and I talked before, and like you've said that you were telling me how back when I was on your Jock and Nerd show, we did that post show.
Yep.
And you had mentioned, I think, that you had some questions about the Kavanaugh hearings, and like your dad had become more right wing, and you were opening yourself up to becoming more conservative in your views, right? Is this an accurate portrayal?
Not opening myself up to be more conservative. I would say just opening myself to listening to the other side and agreeing with some of the other points.
Okay, so that's called, if you were to tell me back then that you were doing that, and then today we talked and I found out you were a Trump supporter, I'd say, okay, there was an evolution there. Right. You maybe, but there's always some remnants left. So, for example, Candace Owens may have changed her mind on race. She may actually believe that racism is dead. But did she? But how is it when she?
That seems insane to me.
Made
by
that
the way.
decision. It is, but that's what she makes her money on. Is that right? Right. But at the same time, magically, you change your mind on immigration and abortion and every other platform issue, all magically on the same day.
Well, that doesn't seem to make sense.
What view did you hold on to? Because you have to have held on to some remnant of a view, but she didn't. She's fake, 100% fake. And I just don't believe that someone can switch on every talking point overnight or within the course of 2 days. There's got to be a progression. And, you know, you may switch on 5 of the 6 key issues, but that 6th one, you just kind of think maybe they don't have that one right. You know, that would be what a natural, normal person would feel. Yeah. You know, we all change, but we think
I was going to ask, do you think she changed because she's an African American? Yeah, well, I was going to say she's African American, and if she will draw more attention to herself by being an African American that is on the side where a lot of African Americans don't seem to be.
Blacks, the Republican Party wants the black vote, and frankly, the Democratic Party has exploited it. You know, the Democratic Party is fantastic when it comes to saying they're going to champion the minority and then covertly fucking them in the asshole. You know, they're fantastic at that. So the Democrats, it's their own fault. But the Republican Party is desperate to get back to what they used to be, which like they used to be the party of civil rights and all, Abraham Lincoln and all that ended slavery, but now they've switched to this racist party which happened, by the way, under Nixon. Nixon was really the one who started that. Had guys like David Duke, who, used to be Democrats back when the Democrats were the party of segregation and racism. And then the Republicans, basically took that platform because Nixon wanted to win the election. The right, of course, will tell you, and Candace Owens will tell you that is what I have just said is a myth, that's been debunked, which is completely just false. These are verified historical facts. If you're going to switch parties, you're going to switch parties because of only one reason that I know about, and that's to get votes. So you're going to go where the votes are at, right? Nobody switches to get less votes. They switch to get more votes. And Candace Owens is a great example of this. She switched to get more followers. She switched to get more money. She switched, and she may have actually, I think if I had to guess, I would say that she probably had some sort of epiphany on maybe race, where that's probably genuine. She's wrong, but maybe it's a genuine thought. And then because of the fact that she now found that she was being followed by a lot of other, a lot of right-wing people, that she has to fabricate or put up this veil of also agreeing with every other topic as well, so as not to disenfranchise, a few of her new followers, because followers equal ratings, equal talk shows like she has, and equals her, buying her own version of white privilege, because that's what she wants. She wants to be a white person, and it's very troubling. It's very sad, and she's not alone. There's C.J. Pearson, there's Wayne Dupree, there's Terrence Williams, there's Herman Cain, a lot of African Americans who are on this gravy train right now, and it's weird because you'll look at their Twitter and they'll post something and they'll say, "This is the reason why racism is worse against white, or why." This law is actually racist against whites. And everybody says, "You're so great, Candace or CJ or whoever." And it's all white people replying. "Yeah, thank you for reinforcing my worldview." Yeah. Racism is a real problem. I heard you and David talking about this.
Yeah.
David Taylor. And, it was interesting to hear your views on it. As a minority, I'm not a minority, but it's just such a problem in this country because people have a tendency to think of themselves as, first of all, they have a tendency to confuse racism with implicit bias on the left. The left has a tendency to group these things together, right? We all have bias.
Right.
I'm a Cubs fan, so are you. We have bias against Brewers fans and Cardinals fans, right?
More Cardinal fans, but lately Brewer fans, yeah.
Right. It's all schadenfreude. So, but when it comes to racism, people will often say, "Well, I'm not racist. I have black friends. I just think that I should be able to fly the Confederate flag." You've talked to this person before. Like, these people are out there. I think Kaepernick's a piece of shit. I stand with police. Police have the right to shoot. Whoever that person is. But I'm not racist. I have black friends. My son-in-law is black. Whatever. People assimilate the fact that that's not the right word. They confuse the fact that I'm okay with this individual black person, and I may even genuinely love black person A. But that doesn't have anything to do with my implicit attitude towards the aggregate of that group.
Yeah,
like whites will tell you, "Oh, I never had anything handed to me. I grew up poor." So what? You think all black people grew up poor? Is that your idea of black America? Because I got news for you. That's the urban community. Most blacks don't live in the urban atmosphere anymore. Only about half. So you're showing your bias in that statement. They think, like, they'll try to draw bring themselves closer to the blacks, say, look, I'm just like you because I'm poor. I mean, how offensive is that?
Yeah, that doesn't describe, that's not a pillar in black identity, being poor.
Yeah, I mean,
something that doesn't describe anybody. That's just a circumstance of how you were born.
Well, it's because poverty follows the black community wherever it goes.
Right.
And why does it do that? Because white people pull out when the black people pull in.
Mm-hmm.
The town that I was born in, you're from Chicago. You know South Holland, Illinois.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was born in South Holland, Illinois. You been there ever?
I have not, unfortunately. I have, but everyone I know from South Holland, or a lot of the first people I met from South Holland were in my Catholic school, and they were black.
Okay, so a little bit of history. South Holland is called South Holland for a reason. It was a Dutch community. I'm Dutch, Jasen Dutch,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was born in South Holland in 1974. My grandfather had a barbershop in South Holland since the 60s. You know, there wasn't a black person in South Holland. Around the time I was about 10, the black people started moving in. My grandmother was one of the last people to leave around 01. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when she left, the entire town of South Holland became black people. So then what happens? They pull the money out, the businesses move out, all of the money that was put there for, by for the school districts and everything like that, it all gets cut. And you run completely out of any type of money to keep that neighborhood thriving and to keep that community going. You know what I mean? So it's the white people with the tendency that and it's not just whites, I suppose, but it's people who view themselves as being of a more affluent part of society that don't want to be associated with people who they see as a less affluent part of society, or they want to live around people that look like them, so, but they take their money with them, and then the school systems fall apart, and then you wonder, why are all the black kids getting bad scores in school? Is it because they're not as smart as we are? Well, no, it's not that. It's that the educational system has failed the black community because they let the schools run down and they don't put money into the school system. Why is it that you have Naperville North, which is producing doctors and lawyers and championship football teams and pro baseball players and Congress people graduating from Naperville North, but 4 miles away, West Aurora can only graduate 67% of the class.
Right. And just for the context, that's anyone that's not listening in Chicago, Naperville is I guess you would consider it a further away suburb or its own little place.
I mean, yeah. I lived in Naperville. I love Naperville. I lived in Aurora, actually.
So I'm saying, would you consider them both suburbs still of Chicago?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I think the suburbs go to DeKalb now.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, they've gotten bigger as the city has pushed its way out.
Sure. Yeah. So just for context, it's southwest of Chicago.
Right. So is it the black people's fault that they don't put money into the school district there? I mean, it's partly their fault because Democrats fail them on a municipal level.
Right.
And that's why you should. To my eye, you should have all Republicans on municipal level and all Democrats on the federal level. Because Democrats suck municipally. Look at Chicago, D.C., Detroit. All those cities blow. And the GOP is doing great in places like Naperville, but they suck and the federal government, and the Democrats seem to do a lot better. So if I could make a change to America, I might make that change.
First one? Would that be the first one?
I think so. I think I don't know if it would work for a long time or not, but it's just maybe I think it would get us pushed in the right direction, because the two things that we need that are left wing policies that I advocate for the most is universal health care and completely uniform education. I think West Aurora and Naperville North should have the exact same facilities, the exact same curriculum. Obviously, teachers, you can't you're going to have individual
You can't replicate,
teachers.
yeah.
Right. But everything that you can replicate, the same computers, the same iPads, the same football field, as much as the same as possible. Obviously, geography is going to be different.
Are you saying this is across public schools?
Across public schools
Okay.
across the country. They should be privatized by the government, and the government should take the programs that are being used in Naperville North and other schools like that and implement that exact same program across the country and take those funds and distribute them equally.
Why is it not equal?
You tell me. Because the tax allocations are different. You have more. A lot of it's sales tax. I mean, if you're going to put up a Von Mauer, are you going to put it in Naperville or Aurora?
Right.
So
put it up in Naperville because that's where people can afford it.
Right. So, you're going to get more sales tax there, which gives you more money for your school. And then if black people start moving in Naperville, Von Mauer decides that doesn't fit their target demographic anymore, which is completely their right to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, moves their store to Oak Park. And then, you get a Hobby Lobby that goes in or whatever. A Spirit Halloween store goes in there. And, jobs are lost and other people move out.
So each city or county or whatever is funded by its whatever it pulls in, and that funds the school. Is that how that works?
Sales taxes. There's property taxes. There's so property tax is a big piece of it too. But like the property taxes in Naperville are a lot higher than the ones are in Aurora, but the houses are a lot bigger.
I remember especially now that I've got like a lot of friends that are having kids, but I remember even growing up thinking to myself, people would move to suburbs before they would move out to a suburb or even places in the city. They'd look up like how good the public school was, and I always was as a kid, and I was always thinking to myself, why does it matter? It's a public school. Like they should. Yeah. Like it didn't occur to me that some of them had better education rates or better education curriculums than others. I was just like, oh, you're basing this. Like, if it was a Catholic school, that'd be one thing. Or, like, a private school, I would understand. But at the time, I was like, why are you trying to move to where there's a good public school? That didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, but people do it. I mean, when I moved...
Oh, it happens all the time.
Yeah, when I moved, I take... But see, here's the thing. Think about this. When I moved, when my wife and I moved to North Aurora, we moved to North Aurora because we thought our house was in the Batavia School District.
Right. I hear this all the time.
As it turned out, they had drawn the lines like 3 weeks after the MLS listing went up, so it was inaccurate information, much to our chagrin.
Jeez.
But, people move to areas because of the school districts being nicer.
That's a big factor for a lot of people now.
Yeah, so if you have a shitty school district, that's going to hurt the property values, so you're going to attract more people that can't afford the nicer houses, which is going to give you an even shittier school district. So the slope is just like completely down the other, the wrong way. And then you have minorities move in because the housing becomes more affordable, and all the white people freak out, and the Indian people, by the way, too, will freak out, because call a spade. They don't want to live by the blacks either. So, in fact, Indian communities are very strange because they, we have a big Punjab community here in Bakersfield, and they all live on the same street. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen.
Anecdotally, as being half Filipino and half Polish, my relatives in the Philippines, and this is not an indictment on all of them, but a lot of them have very pointed views towards seeing anyone that's black. They're like immediately like, oh my God, that's... Well,
Asians, I'm sorry to say, are very... racist towards blacks in general. That's why they didn't like the movie Black Panther. Didn't do well.
It didn't do well in China. They immediately are like, oh, black, that must be a bad person.
Yeah.
I've had to re-educate my grandparents and like my aunts and uncles. Like, no, that just because they're black does not mean they're a criminal. You have to stop that.
Yeah, but that's
very ingrained
what you see on television.
Culture.
So I can understand why they have that mentality. I'm not really blaming them for it.
No, and there's not very many black people in Asia, so they don't see anything other than what's portrayed on television.
Yeah, exactly. So but Asia's an interesting place. I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but like it's very the patriarchy is big there. Like they have the policy where the man his family, they take care of the son has the duty to take care of his family.
100%.
Yeah, the daughter doesn't. So, that's why everybody when they had that one child policy, everybody wanted to have a son because they wanted their kids to take care of them one day.
Yeah,
so you end up with a shortage of women.
Stories, with people finding out they had women children.
Yeah. So a lot of people moved, tried to move. So, But then you go to Hong Kong, look how progressive it is, and women are like totally empowered there.
Right.
So
Asia, Asia in general is it's culturally very different.
Is it just me? So are Asians? It seems to me that Asians have a different elevator etiquette than I do, because I used to work in a building that had a company called China Shipping.
Okay.
And the Asian people would not wait to get on the elevator until you got off. And it was chronic. Is that is it different there with Asians? Do they have a different elevator etiquette than we do? I'm just curious.
I don't know if it's for all. So the thing is, Asia is so big. There's a little bit of difference in every culture. I don't know. That one I can't answer. I know that whenever I've met my relatives and even other Asians in general, they can tend to come off as a lot ruder to people than other people. They'll just tell you what's going on in their head, right? They'll tell you what they're thinking right off the bat.
Right.
And they can be very blunt. But I think that's just a cultural or just a communication divide, communication. They're just not. Roadblock. There you go. I was trying to think of the word, but so they can I know my relatives that come over here seem to be very rude when to the American way of talking. But I don't know about the elevator thing. That's an interesting thing you observed.
Yeah, it's because I dealt with it every day for 5 years. I'd go down.
They wouldn't go on the elevator unless you were off?
No, they would go on. So let's say I was on the elevator by myself and I went up to the 5th floor, right? Which is I worked on the 5th floor. And on the 5th floor also there was a company called China Shipping. And almost everyone who worked there was Asian. A lot of whom I smoked with and were, to steal a word from Trump, damn fine people. But, it was funny though, because I got used to it after a while. I would just go off. I would walk off the elevator regardless, but you're used to getting off the elevator. And then if I'm getting on the elevator, I'm going to wait for everybody to get out before I get on.
Right.
I think that's elevator etiquette. The people from China Shipping, all of them down to the last one, the door would open. And as long as there was room, they walked down to the elevator, even though I was still standing on it. So it would make it hard for me to get out. And I learned after a while, I just got to stay to the left because they enter it from the right.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of what we would do here.
Well, that does hint at what I mentioned earlier, is that the behavior can seem kind of rude from Asians. Right. And I don't know why that is, but that is a symptom of being Asian and coming over here and growing up over there.
Yeah. And then, you get that. I don't think they were doing it to be rude.
No, they're not.
I think that they're doing it because that's a cultural norm. And then, people will look at it as Asians are fucking rude because they don't, they just do this and that. They haven't assimilated yet to our culture.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's this topic of assimilation is just, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you should assimilate some things, but you don't have to assimilate every little piece of your life to be like your neighbor. I don't want to be like my neighbor. I moved to Bakersfield, California from Chicago. You think I want to be a Bakersfieldian? Oh, the bikes are riding by. Sorry. It's
funny you mentioned that. So, where I work, we're a minor league hockey team. And
right.
We had the
Bakersfield Condors.
Yeah. We were going to play. I actually don't. I'm leaving this company pretty soon, so I don't mind talking about it. But
you just had enough of working with Imran, huh?
Yeah, I had enough. No, it's all good over there. But anyways, we were going to play either San Diego or Bakersfield, and our PR team, one of the girls is pretty young, so she was like, I just can't wait to go to California. And I'm like, there's a big difference, hun, between San Diego and Bakersfield. You're going to get a wildly different experience going from one place to the other. I personally was talking shit about Bakersfield. I've actually never been to Bakersfield, but I've just heard.
Was that after you knew me?
Yeah.
So I had told you some things, I'm guessing.
No. I already knew that Bakersfield was inland California and not what she was expecting.
Oh,
which
right.
is
Okay.
San Francisco, San Diego, LA type stuff. Everyone, there's a lot of people that just assume if you're going to California that all of it is those three places.
Yeah.
In fact, I had someone today that, because they're making the trip out to San Diego, they went, so do you think we could visit San Jose? I'm like, that's like 7 hours away.
Yeah,
You're not visiting San
Jose. Might be more than that.
So, Bakersfield.
It's crazy how big it is.
What the hell? What are you doing out there?
Well, if you've ever seen a picture of my wife, she's far better looking than I am.
That's good.
So, it's she decided she wanted to move to Bakersfield to be closer to her family, and I decided at the time that I'd rather find a new job than a new wife. And I moved to Bakersfield. Now I always knew that my wife wanted me to move to California with her because she's from California. She's not from Bakersfield, but it happened that her brother was working here in Bakersfield, so she wanted to come specifically here because her parents and brother live here. And so this is where I ended up, and it's a really strange town. I mean, it's getting less strange, but like, I've been thinking about running for Congress, but
Are you being serious?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. But I'm not. But I don't want to do it here because I won't win. Like it's too Republican, right? My views, like, in fact, my congressman is Kevin McCarthy. I don't know if you know who that is or not.
No, I don't.
But Kevin McCarthy is the ranking Republican of the Congress.
Okay.
Is like the top guy in the Congress for the GOP these days, now that Paul Ryan is gone. In fact, if the Republicans take the House in 2020, which I don't think they will, but if they do, he'll be Speaker.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like he'd be a shoo-in for Speaker.
So he's a big deal.
Yeah, he's a big deal, and he's a nice guy. Actually, I've met him a couple times. He's a really genuinely nice guy. I wouldn't beat him here.
Okay.
So it's pointless for me to run here. But I'm thinking if I might move to another semi close by area and
Fresno
and do that. Fresno is another GOP area. I think it would be more winnable.
I'm just throwing things out there. I'm throwing middle California out there.
Yeah, I mean, because my wife and I now are separated, so
Right.
See, there goes those motorcycles again.
I actually don't hear those. Then.
Sorry, Imran, but you don't hear?
He don't. No, I don't hear them, and he won't edit those. So
it really hurts me because I don't have a motorcycle right now. I've always been a rider,
and that's how you met your co-host, right?
Yeah. We were in the same biker gang.
Yeah, that's what TJ told me. I just imagine you guys all like in Hell's Angels, and just
killing people.
Yeah, or like in that movie with Sylvester Stallone, was it Cobra? Have you seen that?
Yeah, in the 80s. I don't remember.
Yeah. I just imagine all you guys riding bikes and having like two axes and like clanging them together as you're riding your bikes. That's what I imagine.
Probably closer
right now.
to that Tim Allen, Martin Lawrence motorcycle movie. What was it, Road Dogs or something like that?
Well, let me imagine that you guys are all the gang from Cobra.
Yeah, so we were just driving
killing
around,
people indiscriminately,
killing other podcasters, moving up slowly.
Yeah.
So but I've thought about. It hurts to not have a motorcycle, but yeah. So I mean, I've thought about running. I think I would like to. I don't think I will, because of where I live, and I don't really feel like moving right now, and I don't really feel like having my past dug into. Especially because I'd be in such a high pro, and I know I would lose, but like, think of all the followers I would get on Twitter, right? And like I'd be like Candace Owens. No, but but I think that people need to hear about good policy, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's Democratic or Republican policy, but we need people in power who will support the right thing.
Do you think that'll ever change this like two-party structure that
Trump.
we have?
No, the two-party?
Yeah.
No, but it needs to. That's the worst problem that we have.
It just seems so antiquated. How could it be just two parties that dominate everything?
I can assure you that the founders and framers did not see that either.
Right.
There's no way that they saw a two-party system. They probably envisioned a 6 or 7-party system.
I mean, I obviously don't follow politics as closely as you do, but it just seems like everyone just votes down party lines all the time, and no one's thinking independently of one another. I just don't see how this is a good thing for the country.
Haas said something on our podcast over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He said if you're just going to the ballot box and checking D or R down the ticket, you should not have the right to vote, because that is not you don't know anything about the policy of the person that you're voting for. You just know the party.
Right.
This is how people like Roy Moore and Steve King get into office, because people just go and check the box. That's how you get child molesters and rapists and racist. I'm sorry, not rapist. Into office. It's ridiculous. I mean, and the Democrats were screaming about Steve King for years, and then all of a sudden, oh, look, he actually is a racist. And the Republicans go, yeah, we didn't know. And the left goes, we've been telling you this for 2 decades. Why is this guy in Congress? So it's there's some people out there in this town in Bakersfield that are very questionable in their views. I walk into a lot of places in sales. I'm in sales for HVAC, which a lot of these guys they love Trump. I mean, they'll have pictures of Trump on their wall, like, Bruce Springsteen poster, but with Trump's face. You know what I mean? So it's like the Trump worship here is real.
Has he done, objectively, what are some good things he's done for the country?
Well, I loved his view on Pakistan, because Pakistan was known for funding terror. In fact, Imran agreed with me on that when we talked about it. And he put his foot down there. The tax cut that he put through for the businesses, the Trump tax cut, for people was terrible, but the corporate tax cut was fabulous. We're still high, actually. Our corporate tax rate, he cut our tax rate from 31% to, I think it's 22.25% or something like that. Europe is 18. So, we're still high. And it helps American businesses. I think that generally he has done a pretty good job with trying to keep companies in the United States. That was a
big part of his platform.
Yeah, he failed more often than he hasn't. But you hear about he failed with Carrier. I know that. I work for a competitor of Carrier. I know exactly where they're made. But people still think he saved Carrier. Carrier's in Mexico. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I guarantee you they are, because I work for Ream. That they're like our number one competitor. But the tariffs that he has implemented are really affecting HVAC, by the way, too, because they're an extra tax. The Democrats are too stupid to call it a tax, but it is a tax. On aluminum and copper and all the components of an air conditioning system or your car. Since I've been in HVAC a little over a year now, the price of a HVAC system has gone up about 15%, only due to his tariffs.
Oh, wow.
So when your air conditioner blows up this summer and you have to buy a new one, and you say, shit, that's a lot of money. It was 15% less a year ago. That's Yikes. A big increase.
Yeah, it is.
So I think Trump has done some things that are okay. I don't think he's been terrible when it comes to policy, if you're okay with conservative government. Because the conservatives will tell you that he's doing wonderful things, but that's because they're conservative. So he's governing far more conservatively than most conservatives thought he was going to, and they love that. So that's why they're supporting him.
Is he doing that because he wants to just be reelected?
Because he knows Trump is smart enough to know where the money is at.
Right.
And the money is with his base.
Right.
That 33% of the country that he can rile up and that believes that Mexicans are rapists.
Right.
You know,
I mean, they are. No, I'm just kidding.
There are rapists who are Mexican. You are correct.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That would be correct, yes.
But when you turn on Fox News and you see the caravan is coming, there's some bad... Hold on. Trump, are you here? There's very bad hombres. They're very bad. Bad people are coming. They're going to rape you. They're going to murder you. And worst of all, they're going to vote for Bernie Sanders. So we need to make sure that we make America great again. We're going to build a wall. It's going to be big. It's going to be very high. It's going to be very, very long, just like me. I am very long as well, in case you've forgotten. You can ask Melania. The wall is going to be just wonderful, and we're going to make America great again because we're not going to have those dirty, slimy Mexicans here. We're going to have more people from Norway.
I didn't know we had your red phone in here. What the hell happened?
Yeah. Hey, can I have the mic back now, Donald?
Jesus Christ.
You know, but I mean, when I just did that right now, can you really believe that guy is running the country?
It's unbelievable that man is running the country. Yes, I still sit here and go, what the hell?
I mean, it's absurd. Now, I will admit he is right about one thing, that the media bias is bad.
It's bad. It's terrible.
You know, the idea that Don Lemon is an objective journalist is absurd. You know, Rachel Maddow is not objective. She's not neutral.
I mean, I remember before he got elected, I was talking to someone that one of my colleagues is quite smart, and he didn't think Trump would get elected because he goes, most of the media that most of this country follows is left, and they're very biased against Trump, so he probably won't get elected. And I go,
they underestimated a lot of things. The election was won for a lot of different reasons by Trump. Notably, the Facebook social media campaign that was admitted to be voter suppression, to suppress the African American and suburban housewife votes, and it worked. There were 4 million people who voted for Obama in 2012 that did not vote in 2016 because they thought it was going to be a whitewash.
I had a guy on named Jimmy McPike. I don't know if you heard that episode.
That one I didn't.
Okay, so he was very... I asked him the same question, how did Trump get elected? And he goes, he believes that we knew for a long time that Hillary was going to be the next candidate, so they had a lot of time to rally the base and completely take her out before she even had a chance.
How stupid are Democrats to do that, too? I mean, who's the number one front runner right now for the Democrats?
Who is? I don't know, honestly.
Joe Biden.
Okay.
You could have ran him 4 years ago and we wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah, I thought that'll be my next question, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could have run... Now, that's not to say Joe Biden is the save-all, the be-all, but, you know, he was the vice president of the United States. The Democratic Party just decided, and this is because Democrats are fucking stupid. Bill Maher is correct when he says that. The party is run by idiots. And the fact that I am allied with them currently in this anti-Trump effort is very unsettling.
Yeah.
You know, but it's... and that's...
He makes it hard, though, to be on his side if you...
Oh, I'll never be on his... Because he's just pure horseshit. You know, but how stupid are you to decide that that's going to be your candidate, because it's about time that a woman becomes president, and we're going to pick the least likable woman in America to do it.
Yeah, she was one of the worst candidates you could have ever picked.
The worst candidate in the history of politics.
Right.
You know, running against the second worst. And we're not talking about, don't make no mistake, we're not talking about people. You know, we're not saying could she govern. I'm sure she could have governed adequately.
Right.
But as a candidate, she was cataclysmically bad. Yeah. The only person Trump could have possibly defeated. You know, it's just absurd.
So do you think, projecting to this upcoming election, who's gonna go against Trump, and what are the odds right now?
I have
this early in.
No idea, none whatsoever. I don't even know who I like. I did like Biden, but I've sort of unliked him a little. I do like Cory Booker to a degree.
From New Jersey? Is he from New Jersey?
Because he's a more moderate Democrat. But he's like, he's too loyal to the Democratic elite establishment. So I don't know. I've waffled a little bit on Cory Booker. There's a guy who I really like. I think his name's Jay Inslee, is how you pronounce it. He's the governor of Washington.
Okay.
The problem with Jay Inslee is that he's a white man. So are they going to allow a white man to be the candidate? I'm terrified that they will not care. I mean, the Republicans are correct when they say that there is some bias against whites. They're not lying. Now,
there's truth in that as well.
I'm not saying that it's that. I also don't think the right understands why. I think the left has the right idea. They have the right motive. But yes, I think that there should be more diverse seats at the table, but that doesn't mean you walk up to the table and start assassinating the people at it.
Right.
Just to get the seat open. You know what I mean?
You don't just elect people because of their race. It should be about, I mean, at the end of the day, it should be about who's the best candidate.
It should be about who's the best candidate, right? And I don't know who the best. I am starting to get warmer on Elizabeth Warren, who I originally did not even want to run.
Pocahontas?
Yes, because but she is the only, so she can't win because of that.
Right.
But
I mean, that's really literally all I know about her, and it's because of Trump.
Yeah, right. I mean, again, what president can you seriously?
Yeah,
calling
the name
someone
calling.
Pocahontas? I mean, she was stupid for doing that. I get it.
Yeah.
She got egg on her face. But that's like one mistake that she made. But she'll pay for that one mistake forever, where Trump is forgiven for their very, very fine people in the KKK.
That's his he doesn't ever admit to being wrong. He just doubles down or wipes it under
you'll never
the
hear him.
rug.
He's a Christian who doesn't think that forgiveness is necessary.
Right.
And by the way, made $480 million in last year. How much did he tithe of that, Christians? I was wondering. The 10% that's appropriate, right? No, 0. But anyway, Elizabeth Warren is the one candidate who has been putting out policy. She's smart, and she won't win. She can't win. She would lose. So I'm against her, but I think whoever wins might want to think about her for VP, and might want to think about her in a cabinet position. As far as who's going to win, again, I don't know. It's
what's your gut say? Do you think Trump will win again?
My gut says it's going to be Biden. No, I think that Trump will lose to a good handful of them. I think Trump would lose.
Wow.
I think Trump will lose to Kamala Harris. I think Trump would lose narrowly to Kamala Harris. I think Trump would lose to Joe Biden. I think Trump would lose to Bernie Sanders.
Really?
Wow. I do.
Why do you feel this way? Do you think it's just the public is turned against him?
Well, a lot of the people who voted for Trump last time said that they voted for Trump because Bernie Sanders was not the Democratic candidate.
Oh, so it was mostly hate for the Democratic candidate.
Hillary fucked Bernie over.
Yeah.
That DNC hack was not fake. That was real.
She's crooked.
She really was crooked Hillary. Trump is correct. She was crooked Hillary. And, but Bernie was clearly the better candidate. He was clearly the first one to put these ideas on the table. The problem with Bernie and Biden is, in my book, they're still a little bit old. Yeah. They're both a little older than Trump. But I do believe that Biden, Kamala Harris, and maybe a few of the others would defeat Trump in the general.
Can I ask you something about Bernie?
On who the VP is, though, too.
Let me ask you something about Bernie, because again, I'm not the biggest political guy. Every time I hear Bernie, I hear the other side go, "He's a socialist. You're a socialist if you vote for him." So, what's the deal with that?
Well, he is a democratic socialist,
right?
But they forget to use the word democratic.
Okay.
It's pretty simple difference there. There's socialism and then there's democratic socialism. Two markedly different things. Now they're the same in idea that you are paid your worth. And every person has a net worth, a net value of your worth, and then after that you're paid for your input into society. So the more you work, the more you get. If you're a garbage man, you work and you decide to work for 80 hours a week instead of 40, you're going to live in the same house as the lawyer who works 80 hours a week. But the lawyer who works only 40 hours a week is going to live in a smaller house than the garbage man who works 80, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
So you're paid for input, and the value of that input is, weighted a little bit too. But socialism is very, very easily corrupted. I will say that. Mm-hmm. But and oftentimes, like in China, it sets itself up as almost a pseudo religion. Where they outlaw religion and execute Muslims and Christians because you're not loyal to the state. But socialism is socialism. Democratic socialism is socialism via the ballot box. In other words, you and I vote on what social programs are going to be implemented. Okay. And if you don't, to use a quote from Bill Maher, if you don't like socialism, don't drive on the fucking road.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Find your own way to work. Carve your own road, because that's socialism.
Makes sense. Okay.
And for God's sake, don't call the police.
Right.
Because that's another social program.
Yeah.
And please don't apply for Social Security. No, you can't do that either, because that's a social program. So social programs interwoven into a capitalistic society is where we need to be now. But eventually, I think 150, 200 years from now, I think we're going to be a socialist country for sure. I mean, just think about Star Trek, right?
Okay.
How much stuff on Star Trek has come true? It's amazing, right? I know this is kind of probably not where people expected me to go, but
certainly wasn't where I was expecting you to go.
But like Star Trek, does Star Trek look capitalist to you? No, it was socialist. Mm-hmm. But it was utopian at the same time, to a degree, right? So we're not headed toward capitalism. Has to implode at some point in time, just based on the
Why do you believe
economics.
That? Oh, based on the economics?
Yeah, because at some point in time you're going to have Amazon be bigger than the U.S. government. Amazon's going to make everything that's on your desk in front of you. Amazon's going to make it one day. If we let capitalism go free,
they're pretty huge right now with the Whole Foods purchase and all that. They're doing everything,
right? And but the problem becomes is when it comes to, like, this is why the Democratic Party plays a key role with the regulation, because like Elizabeth Warren wants to break up Amazon, so Trump will say he wants to break up Amazon. Look at the crazy socialist, right? Mm-hmm. Always trying
Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders?
Elizabeth Warren wants to break up Amazon. Okay. And in this particular case, I think that it makes sense, because Amazon as a marketplace is one thing. You can set up your own website like Overstock.com, eBay, and they also, can compete with Amazon and maybe turn the tide on them. So the problem becomes Amazon starts making their own products and selling them on their own store. So, like Amazon Basics, for example, if you shop on Amazon, like I bought kitchen knives, they're Amazon brand. So now that's technically that should be made a different business. Shouldn't be the same type of business,
right?
Because now you're treading water at this point.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? You're asking for a lot of trouble, because you can't compete with something that you don't have. And they have every right to do that, to make their own product, but and they're obviously not making it themselves. They're partnering with other companies and making things that are private label. But that's where you're going to start to have a lot of issues. So at some point in time, capitalism, you're going to get to the point where, you can even see it. Would you be shocked if 30 years from now you have 5 companies, Google, Amazon, maybe Apple, and a couple others that
absolutely
own
not
everything?
We talk about this on Jock and Nerd all the time, that it already feels like we're there, if not
Disney,
100% on the Disney, Google, Apple, Amazon. Those are 4 brands right there that seem to own.
Yeah, maybe throw Microsoft in there, and and you've got, you could, and maybe General Motors. You can maybe take 2 or 3 other companies, but you can get to a society where you have Amazon competing against General Motors by making the Amazon car, and General Motors making a cell phone to compete against Apple. everybody wants market penetration because capitalism is out of control. Everything's about market share. Everything's about pleasing your, the stock market. And, if you've ever listened to Business Wars, you'll know how the Mattel issue was the show on Mattel versus Hasbro.
Yep.
That was a great one because it just showed how a company can influence the stock and manipulate it, and then when they get caught, people lose their entire lives. That's not a formula for long-term success. Stock markets will crash. So capitalism is, while it's working, it's gotten us to where we are, and socialism could not have gotten us to where we are. It's not going to get us to the finish line, and a couple hundred years from now, we're not going to be a capitalist society anymore. We just won't be. We're going to be either corporate owned or government owned. And frankly, I would rather be owned by the government that I have a say in rather than a corporate entity. And I don't like the idea of being owned by the government either.
No, that would scare a lot of people.
But what do you have a say in, Amazon or the government?
Right.
I can run for Congress.
Right.
I can't run for Amazon board unless I buy my way into it. The only way to get to have some control over Amazon is to take money out of my pocket and buy enough stock that I am given a vote. With government, I don't need to do that. I can wake up in the morning and I have the constitutional right to run for office or to protest something. I can't protest Amazon. They'll call the police and tell me to get off private property. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a lot more dangerous. The government is a lot less dangerous than big evil corporations. How many movies have you seen? Like Umbrella Corporation, Resident Evil. You know what I mean? And I'm not a conspiracy theorist here. I hate conspiracy theories. But this is, I don't believe that this is a conspiracy theory. I think this is just normal evolution of society. And we see it happening all the time, with the Disney buyout of Fox, getting all their characters back. But what else did they get? They control almost all of your television.
I mean, they own a controlling stake now in Hulu. They got Nat Geo. They got the Sims. They got a lot. They got a lot going on now.
So do you think, and for the people who are listening who are like, he's crazy, think about this. So Disney just bought this, right? So now if you're the CEO of Disney, do you think your stockholders are satisfied and they don't want to see further growth because we've just plateaued? Or do you want more growth?
Oh yeah, they're gonna still want more growth.
Okay, so how do we grow? Well, we have to absorb new products and new companies to do that. You can either buy a company or you can invent a new product. So they'll look and they'll say, okay, maybe we're going to make the Disney brand tablet and load it with all of this Disney content. And then after that, we'll move into just maybe a cell phone. We'll have a Disney brand cell phone that'll be available on Verizon. And then they'll say, you know what, years later, they'll say, you know what, we're tired of paying Verizon to be on their network, so we're going to either buy Verizon or we're going to start Disney Network. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're always going to be looking for, with capitalism, you're always going to be looking for the way to keep your stockholders happy.
Well, you saw that even with Apple, too. They started trying to get into the TV business, and unfortunately, the TV, they didn't do as well selling TVs. But now they're trying to get into the streaming business, and then in the backdoor way, still get back into the TV business. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, you see it with all
just because companies. They fail doesn't mean they wouldn't have been happy to succeed. And
100%. They wanted. I remember the hearing that it might have been on Business Wars. They were like the TV. Steve Jobs was like, the TV. No one's ever revolutionized a TV. That's our next goal.
Right. So, it's a little bit scary, and like Google and Facebook are very fucking scary. I mean, I use both for my podcast. I don't go on Facebook though. I mean, like Google and Facebook are very, very. If you want to listen to a really great podcast about Google and Facebook, there's a podcast called What's Wrong with Google by Sam Harris. I'm sure you guys know who Sam Harris is.
I know who Sam Harris is.
So Sam Harris is, even say what you will about Sam Harris, but this particular one episode of his podcast is called What's Wrong with Google, or What's Wrong with Facebook, one of the two, I forget. And it's just the guest he has on that day is fascinating. So it's a really, really good show to listen to if you really want to find out like how they influenced the election, how they helped get Trump elected, and all this stuff is verifiable. None of it is like, conspiracy theory, flat earth stuff. So it's a really good.
I'll have to check that out. I actually had a guy on, one of my buddies that works for Google, on this podcast. So that's kind of funny that you're bringing that up.
Yeah. Well, he'll tell you, they're Google's going to get their hands on as many IPs as possible.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So is Apple, so is Amazon. And Google and Amazon work together to a degree on their Fire tablets, but Amazon doesn't like paying Google that money. Mm-hmm. So eventually they're going to have their own stuff. They tried to do a phone, it didn't work out, but they'll try again.
Well, yeah, just because it failed doesn't mean they're not itching to get back in.
Yeah. So I personally would, if I had the choice, I would trust the government, because the government is protected by the Constitution. Or built on the Constitution,
right?
And I have the Bill of Rights protecting me, and there's a system in place of checks and balances that are at least intended to protect individuals. Corporations have no such structure. They have a human resources handbook, and if they don't like it, they fire the human resources manager. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting kerbubble.
Kerbubble.
It's an interesting kerbubble, to be sure.
Let me ask you this. We'll switch topics a little bit, because I recently watched it's a 2-year-old video, but it was from Vox, and it was about the proxy war between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. And Iran's in the news a lot, so what's going on over there?
Iran is an interesting situation. So there's the problem with Iran is that we let them off the hook. We pulled out of the Iran deal, which was not perfect, by the way. There were some issues with the Iran deal.
Explain the Iran deal. Summarize it real quick.
Basically, it was a disarmament, nuclear disarming concessions that Iran would receive for not pursuing building a nuclear missile.
Okay.
In a nutshell.
Done by Obama?
The United States,
right.
Done by the United States
during the
Obama administration,
okay.
And spearheaded by a variety of countries, not just the U.S. We have partners in this. We pulled out of it. We gave up our commitment to them.
It wasn't the best deal in your opinion.
It wasn't a terrible deal. Mm-hmm. There were some things from a human rights perspective. There's a lot of genocidal crap that goes on because of the Sunni Shiite battle, mm-hmm.
especially
when it comes to Saudi Arabia. There's some issues with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia hates Iran.
Yeah, that proxy war is still happening.
Yeah, so
it's called the new Cold War over there,
right? And it's a bad thing. Imran knows, I'm sure, a lot about this.
Sure,
and it's the Sunni Shiite issue is a real issue, and it's a real problem. It has been for hundreds of years. And, the Iran deal didn't address any of that. The oversight was probably a little bit less than I would have liked to have seen from a regime that, isn't super trustworthy. But as far as the deal itself goes, it was working. It seemed to have been working. There was no evidence that they were violating the Iran deal at all. The disarmament, I should say, at all, that they were secretly trying to build missiles. There's right-wing conspiracy theories that will say, well, they must have been. Look at their dirty, horrible Muslims. They're evil incarnate. So of course they were in their back little lab, figuring out ways to kill Americans. Mm-hmm. They'll believe that. That's a story that Trump will say on Fox News, and people will believe it. And they'll say, I knew that Congresswoman Omar was going to kill us all. I knew it. So, excuse me. So the disarmament of Iran is imperative. The problem is that we have Pompeo, we have Bill Barr, and we have, worst of all, John Bolton in the Trump administration, and all three of these guys are warmongers. Pompeo, probably the least of the three. They all are problematic people with right-wing religious views that believe, in the only Muslims should live are the ones who have oil. The rest can all die. They literally, I think, believe this. But yeah, those guys are looking for any excuse they can to go to war with Iran. And Trump actually, I think, is. You want me to say something nice about him? He's not. Trump is actually a Democrat in a lot of ways. He used to be a Democrat.
I actually saw an interview where he was very, very hesitant to commit to anything in terms of saying we want to go to war with Iran.
Yeah, he's not for it. In fact, he campaigned on pulling out of Afghanistan and
troops
Iraq.
Out. Right, yeah.
Right. So there are some positives there that he, as crazy as it might sound, he might be our best defense against war with Iran.
He might be a little more level-headed than we thought, huh? When it comes to this,
when it comes to that,
yeah.
Because
I'm just only this.
He doesn't. Yeah. When it comes, the problem though, is that if they tell him that people think he's a pussy, then he'll say, "Okay, I'll push the button myself."
Right. Yeah. Don't question his manhood on anything.
Right. It'll be fine until his ego gets in the way. Or until they say, "Oh, your popularity's dropping, so maybe we should go to war." Okay, let's go, Rudy.
So this has become an issue because it's come out that Iran is developing nuclear weapons. Is that what's going on?
There was no evidence of that whatsoever.
Okay. So why is this coming out now?
Because the right wing is crazy.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, they're looking for any reason to say that Muslims are shitheads.
And we this administration backs Saudi Arabia, right?
Oh yeah, they love them. They love murdering journalists.
They love that oil. Yeah, they love that. Well, Saudi Arabia, I mean, I saw that video by Vox again 2 years ago, but they, them and Iran have been propping up all these other wars in all these other countries, and Iran is more of the uprising type. They advocate uprising in all these Muslim Muslim countries, whereas Saudi Arabia is all about protecting the old guard. They're also about Sharia, but also you've also got Shia versus Sunni, which is a big part of it.
Yeah, the Shiites and the Sunnis are perpetually at war, kind of like Christian versus Catholic, but with violence. It's very, very sad that religion is just a problem. I'm telling you, all of it should just be forgotten about.
That's your stance on religion?
I think there are. I have a degree in religion, so I know a little to be dangerous, but it's not like something that I don't study it anymore. I haven't studied it for many years, so a lot of the stuff's rusty to me. But one thing I will tell you is that almost every war throughout history has started over money or religion, or maybe a woman.
Right. One of the three.
Yeah, one of the three. So can't we just get rid of? You're not going to get rid of currency, and you're not going to hopefully get rid of women.
We better not.
So, if Kavanaugh had his way, we might.
Jesus Christ.
But it's, religion is a problem.
Well, religion can be dangerous because if you're fighting a war that is based off religious reasons, you are legitimately fighting because you think you are on the right and that the other side is evil. And that when it becomes good versus evil, then there is no compromise.
And all bets are off, right? Like the Bible talks about murdering children. Mm-hmm. Literally, you go into Jericho and you kill everyone. Mm. They left no one alive, not a man, not a woman, not a child. The Israelites, right? Mm-hmm. That's glossed over. You don't hear the kids in Sunday school hearing about that.
Have you ever brought that up to TJ?
I don't want to fight with TJ.
I was going to say that would seem to cause some sort of argument with TJ.
But, there is, but that's the thing is like Christians don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear about the 600 Levitical laws that say that if someone has sex with a man, that I should kill them. Mm-hmm. But they say, Muslims Muslims, if you're gay in a Muslim country, you can be killed.
Right.
Well, yeah, your book says that too. You just don't listen to it. You only, and that's good. I think you shouldn't. Right. I think you shouldn't listen to that verse. But then you come back and say every single syllable in this book is gospel truth. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I use the term gospel truth for gospel, which doesn't make any sense. But they think it's literal. But there are some people who will say, well, yeah, but the Levitical laws were replaced when Christ died on the cross. But that's not necessarily true either, because you have contradictions in Matthew. The book of Matthew says, I have not come to change the law, I've come to fulfill it. But then Hebrews contradicts that. So we don't know what it actually says.
I'm going to reference again Jimmy McPike, who I had on here. We had talked about religion and government and how they shouldn't be tied together. And he agreed. And he goes, government allows you to have fun. Religion basically allows you to go apologize for all the fun you had.
The one thing that's worse about the one thing that'll be worse than corporations running the world would be religions.
Oh yeah, that would be bad.
Can you imagine a world where you had, instead of Amazon was usurped by the Muslim Brotherhood and Google was usurped by the Christians? We would all be dead.
No fun would be had for sure.
No fun would be had. But why are you so worried? Why are religious people so worried about where I stick my penis? And when I do it. I can do it after you're married to me, but I can't do it before. And then I can't stick it in a guy's asshole if I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to, but what if I did?
Well, that also brings up, just on the right, the right is all about less government, right?
Yeah, but they want to tell you where you can stick your penis. But they want to tell you where you can.
Yeah, exactly. That never made sense to me.
No, but it's comical to me how, I'm in kind of a counseling thing right now for parenting through divorce. Mm-hmm. That's a church-based thing, or parenting through separation, I think they call it, because they refuse to use the word divorce because it's anti-God. But
really?
These people tell us stuff. It's something my wife wanted to do as we separate, just to help us parent, which I think it's fine. There are plenty of really good elements of religion. When I was a kid, I grew up in the church. Mm-hmm. I went to Sunday school. I went to, we called it alphas and omegas, which was high school and teen group. I made some great friendships.
That was the name of the bomb in the second Planet of the Apes movie.
The Alpha Omega?
Yeah.
That's just a good name.
Just a fun fact.
I actually haven't seen that one yet. It's on the list that I want to see.
The one from the seven, beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, the old ones.
The old one. They called the bomb that
was it Roddy McDowell?
Yes.
Is that who it was?
Yeah, he was in it. Yeah, but they called it the Alpha and the Omega. That's immediately what I thought of, is these mutant humans living underground They were worshiping a nuclear bomb called the Alpha and the Omega.
Yeah.
Anyways,
so actually, we need to talk about that before we go. But we
got time, man.
Just to tie up the religion thing, it's there's a lot of good concepts in religion. There's nothing wrong with telling women that they shouldn't have sex with men. If they do, then love them. And tell them, hey, it's okay that you made a mistake. Not, hey, you're a piece of shit.
That would be the responsible thing for both people.
Right. So, but there's so much good in religion. There's so much good in rites of passage. I mean, the problem is that they are, when you truly believe that your eternal soul is at stake, if you actually truly believe that your eternal soul is at stake, mm-hmm. and that the eternal soul of your children is at stake, there is very little you will not do.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's exactly what I was talking about with the war too.
Yeah. So, I mean, people will crash airplanes in the building because their eternal soul is at stake. And if you actually believe that, there is nothing you won't do to preserve that.
My quick thought on religion is, if at the end of the day, as long as you're not harming anybody and you
Absolutely.
believe in something that so strongly that it makes you more motivated to become a better person the next day, then that's a good thing. But once it starts to be weaponized and you start to encroach on other people's rights and harm other people, then that's when it's dangerous.
Right. It's it's a double-edged sword for sure, and I think that we would be better off without it. I mean, I think that you can replace. There are people who say you can't replace it, like Ben Shapiro, because of morality. Mm-hmm. And that morality comes from God, and man couldn't figure that out. But he sounds like that guy with the weird hair from Ancient Aliens when he says that. Like, everything must. This guy drew a picture of a pelican. It must be the aliens. That's he finds God in everything.
Did you listen to him on the Rogan podcast he had on this last time?
Is Gregorio from
no,
or Shapiro?
Shapiro.
No, I did not. But if he was on there, I listened to Rogan when he was on Shapiro.
Oh, yeah, he had him on
a while ago.
He had him on maybe within the last 3-4 months. The part Shapiro was good. He could definitely made a lot of good points.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah, but he kept. I read the Reddit comments after, and he kept getting hung up on being religious, and that's when a lot of his arguments fell apart because Rogan was questioning him on a lot of things that he couldn't really back up other than just being religious. I love Rogan. That's why I started this podcast.
I've only listened one time.
Really? You didn't like it?
I thought it was fine. It
depends what show you listen to, too.
Yeah, I thought the one I listened to was fine. I didn't have anything against it. I don't have a lot of room in my podcast schedule.
That's the thing. If you try to take on Rogan, you're taking on another 2 to 3 hours, and he records 2 or 3 shows a week.
Yeah, I mean, I already have you.
Thank you.
I have, and I like to support independent podcasters, right?
Yeah, that's huge.
We have an awesome community.
We do. I mean, it's been great.
It's so. You guys have been like the greatest ally, and I don't know why you continue to have us as an ally because we do nothing for you. But you
don't need to do anything for us. You provide interesting conversation, and you're nice guys.
But it's not only you. I mean, there's so many guys that like we've had on our podcast, and like just such amazing guests that we've been blessed to have. We had David Taylor on our show. Ren. Who you're going to get to know.
Yeah, I'm going to have Ren on potentially next week.
So, she's a riot. I mean, but the community is just so great and supporting of each other. And it's weird because, like, technically we're competition, but technically we're not. So but we're all, it's just so awesome. It's such a good feeling to be part of a community that doesn't try to rip each other to pieces because one of us believes in abortion and the other one believes in immigration.
We actually are, I thought about this because I thought about it like technically, at first I'm like, we're not in competition. Like each podcast is different. There's all these different niches. We're not in competition. But then I thought about it, I was like, but there's only 24 hours in the day, and there's only probably 6 hours out of the day that someone can listen to a podcast really pay attention. That's not a lot of time with the amount of podcasts we have out. So we're actually in competition with one another.
Adam Morris listens to both of our shows. Like,
that's crazy.
You know what I mean? So it's that right. Think about that.
Right.
So you guys put out 5 hours of content a week? We put out about 3.
Right.
So that's 8 hours of Adam Morris's life. How are you fixing climate change when you're listening to right? And then how many more podcasts can he possibly listen to? So I have
everyone has their mainstream podcasts that they probably listen to as well.
And if he's going to cut one out, it's probably going to be ours because we suck. But the funny thing is, like, I listen to Shapiro on not every day because he's got a show every day. 2 or 3 times a week. I listen to Young Turks a couple times a week.
That's good that you get both perspectives, both sides.
There's a great podcast called We the People, which is just an hour of constitutional discussion.
Okay.
Which you have to listen to. It's so amazing. We the People. I listen to Business Wars. I listen to you guys. I listen to probably 7 or 8 podcasts that are independent podcasts.
How do you have time to listen to all this shit?
Well, that's because I'm a traveling salesperson, bro.
Okay.
I'm in my
You're
car
in the car
a lot.
Yeah, that helps. That
and then I go to the
100%
gym.
helps.
Now that I've lost all the weight, I can go to the gym now.
Yeah, you're on that keto. I see your Facebook, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk to you for an hour and a half about keto.
I don't think there's any subject you couldn't talk to me for an hour and a half about.
Keto is just... It's been such a life-changing thing. I'll spend 60 seconds on it, I promise, but it's...
Hey, I did keto
so
for about a month or 2 months prior to Vegas, so I'm familiar with keto.
But you're already a skinny young fella. So
I know. I just did it to look ripped. That was all.
Well, that's where I'm at now. Is like I'm going to the gym, and like I actually had a bagel today because I think I'm going to stop keto.
You had a bagel? You can't do that.
Yeah, but I think I'm going to quit keto because keto will plateau me, and I can always go back on it. Right?
That's true. Yeah.
So like I started at 287. I'm 224.
Congrats, man.
My goal is to get to 215 because I want to plateau at 220.
Okay.
And I know that once I quit keto for sure, I'm gonna put on 5 to 10 pounds. Mm-hmm. So, but what I'm gonna do for sure is keep the sugar out of my diet. Sugar is not good for you. Mm. Now that I'm used to not having sugar.
Are you working out in along with the keto?
Yeah, and you're not supposed to do that, but I do it anyway. So I have slightly more carbs than what keto.
Yeah, because you'll be at a deficit. You need the carbs to work out.
Yeah, I do 40. Keto calls for 20.
Okay. So are you doing your own workouts, or are you in like a group class?
I do. No, I'm not joining any of that shit. I go to the gym. It's funny because like I go to the gym and like I work out and I'll do about 20 minutes of weightlifting and about 20 minutes of cardio, and that's it. I do it every day. It's not. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to be ripped. I think that it'll, maybe 20, 30. Actually, I might probably do weights for 30 minutes. But, I do 20 minutes of cardio. That's it. 15 minutes on the elliptical. Then I do all of the weightlifting. And then I do 5 minutes on the bike, going as fast as I can. And that's it. So, I've gone down 60 something pounds. And, now it's all about just like, cause keto, if you're just using it for weight loss, it'll make you really soft, like puffy, soft, and like not ripped and hard. So I have to, put some carbs into my diet at some point to get some protein. So I just started taking creatine again. I haven't taken creatine since like I was in college playing baseball.
Jeez,
So
well, I'm a big advocate for lifting weights, so that's good you're doing that.
Were you in the military?
I was not. No.
Okay.
No. I mean, my dad was in the military.
You look
come
like
from
a military
family.
guy.
Do I?
Yeah, you just have the military look.
I mean, I do get like my dad always, whenever I get my haircuts and he sees me, he calls me soldier boy because he thinks I look like I'm someone in the military. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
No, I mean, I obviously have a huge respect for people. I tried to join the military. I tried to join the Air Force twice.
Did you really?
Yeah, they told me to fuck off. First time because I had asthma, and the second time was because I had a felony.
Because you were a communist? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, they would have probably let me in for that. So I had a lot of resentment towards the military for a while, and then because not because of anything personal towards people in the military, but because they kind of treated me like shit.
Yeah,
that they had said I was going to be in, and then 2 weeks before I was going to go, they sent me a letter: "Do not show up to the bus, or you'll be arrested." And I'm like, "Because you have a felony." And I was like,
"Jeez."
But I was in court for weed, dude. It wasn't like this terrible felony.
Oh, the felony was weed?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Isn't that so antiquated? I mean, that now we're looking back at that, and in 5 more years, I mean, most of the states will probably have some sort of law on this. I mean, it seems so antiquated now.
Yeah, and you just think about, how minorities are more impacted by it than you or I. Well, you're a minority, but I'm saying like people, blacks and Hispanics are the ones, they get pulled over with weed and they go to jail for 2 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy now. I mean, I was in California. It's legal there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in.
Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, no problem. I didn't go to Bakersfield, so I went to LA and then Indio. So, and I was in Vancouver in December, and it's legal there. And I'm like, this is just a new fucking world, man. It was unbelievable to me. People walking around smoking weed, and this was considered taboo.
Chicago's going to do it eventually. They'll do it very, very shortly.
The biggest thing I remember is when we got to the Vancouver airport trying to get out, everyone was rolling up their joints and smoking them outside the entrances to the airport because it was illegal to bring it in the airport.
Yeah, because
to travel with
technically that's federal.
Right.
So before we end, can we talk a little pop culture?
Hell yeah, man. All right, this is your show. We can talk about what you want to talk about.
I want to know what you thought of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Think about that. A piece of our lives is over.
Yeah, the thing is, I wasn't on the journey with everyone else when it first began. So that 9-year run or 8-year run or whatever it's been has only been 2 years. but I still, this was still a big moment. I mean, we recorded a show yesterday, so May 20th. That should be out already today. So my thoughts are on that, but it's good you asked me because my thoughts have changed since I recorded that show.
Yeah, it's a lot to absorb.
It is. First off, the week-to-week stuff for me was just annoying, and I hated all that. But I do agree now. I do think that the end, this whole last season was mishandled. I don't.
Did you sign the petition?
No, I'm not signing no fucking petition to change a goddamn TV show.
How entitled are we when we do stuff like that?
Yeah, you don't get to tell creators to recreate their stuff because you don't like it.
Right. Yeah, redo Ozzy and Harriet too. I didn't like it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the big thing for me is I left this season thinking it was okay, and upon watching some videos from people that I respect, some YouTubers that I really enjoy their video essays, and reading some articles from writers that I respect, a lot of the reason why I felt this was okay was because they just kind of mishandled a lot of these characters, a lot of them, and didn't hold up their end of the bargain of what they set up in prior seasons.
Yeah, I agree with that in a way. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to just appreciate what the show was,
right,
and like it for what it was. It wasn't the greatest. I did like the end, the way that they kind of showed you where people were headed. Mm-hmm. But there was some things that I didn't like. But you know what? There's things I didn't like.
Spoiler alert, by the way, for anyone that
I won't
listening.
Give up too much of it here. But like, I didn't like.
This is our show, man.
Yeah, but I didn't like Star Wars. I didn't like the end of Lost. But I still remember enjoying watching Lost.
Right.
Nobody liked the end episode of Seinfeld.
Right.
So it's hard to end these things. I think the only one that ended well was Sons of Anarchy. But I mean, Game of Thrones was just such a astonishing feat, and it was so good, and I'm going to really miss having that in my life. And I mean, now that I'm only left having that at the same time as Endgame was
huge.
It was just so exhausting, though.
It was the hype behind both of those things was so big. I mean, the big thing for me I am appreciative of the fact that I got into Game of Thrones, and I am a little bit sad. I'm happy that it's over in a sense, because we don't have to deal with the week-to-week nonsense of people just getting fucking crazy about this shit.
Right.
But I am sad that a show that was, really based in character and really based in real characters that aren't just these tropes and the hero versus villain type thing. I'm sad that that's gone, because I'm not the type to rewatch an entire show. I watch something one time, and maybe I'll go back and watch particular episodes, but I'm not going to go back and relive this. Like, that's not how I do things.
Yeah.
So this is legitimately the end of this run for me as well.
I would go back and watch the battle episodes, like the Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah, I'll do that, but
I'll watch that.
But there's people that can watch entire like there were people that I know that watched 7 seasons just to like reacquaint themselves and get themselves hyped for season 8, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I lived it once. I don't need to relive it twice. At least for TV shows.
It's the same with listening to our own podcasts. I think
I'm
share that.
100. Yeah. Have you heard that about me?
You and I have talked about this.
We've talked about
I don't
this.
like to listen to my own podcasts.
No, I lived it. What we had the conversation. The conversation still is in my head.
Yeah.
I don't need to go and like have it reaffirmed. There's no ego here. It's not even like, for a lot of people, it's like they don't listen or like hearing their own voice. It's not even that for me. It's just I don't want to relive something that I lived already.
Yeah, and plus I want to listen to all these other
there's so many
podcasts
other stuff
out there that can expand my view rather than talk about trying to justify my own view. I mean,
to re-listen to your own view.
I'm going to reinforce my own opinions, by listening to myself.
Opinion.
Yeah, with my own opinion. That's narcissism. Trump would totally listen to his own podcast.
Well, the reason, he 100% would. He would have that playing on the loudspeakers in the White House the entire time. The reason why I really enjoy doing this stuff, though, is because I get to talk to people like you and like everybody that I've had, and everyone has a different perspective from what I have, or can enlighten me on certain things about life. So that's why I enjoy doing
this show is let me tell you something about this show.
All right.
I have listened to about, I think you're on your 11th or 12th episode.
Let me look this up because I don't actually know. I have
listened to a little over half of them. I want to say I've listened to 6.
This will be the 15th episode.
There's only one I didn't like.
Yep.
I told you that. I told you already. I won't embarrass the person. I told you that person that I didn't like. But other than that, this show is astonishingly well done.
Oh, I appreciate that, man.
You know, it's because you have the ability that I don't to shut up. You know,
I do like to let the guests take over if it's interesting.
I have thought many times about doing a long form show, but I don't know that I would let. I have a hard enough time letting Haas and TJ talk.
Yeah, I mean, you like to talk. You're like Imran in that sense. Imran, I don't think Imran could do something.
He's so much worse than me.
Yeah, he can't shut up.
Yeah, the amount of times that he'll talk over you is it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, at least for you, you go and you go, but once I go, you let me go. Imran has the problem of letting someone else go until he gets too excited, and then he jumps in and tries to finish your sentence.
Or he reaffirms what you said, and then changes his opinion and agrees with you that he said something different 2 seconds before. He's totally Trump.
That's what's like. The thing about him is he's not doing it on purpose. He's doing it out of genuine excitement.
He'll tell you how much he loved it. Shazam, right? And then Rugby will say, "I didn't like this," and he'll be like, "Yeah, I didn't like that either." I'm like, wait, you just said you loved it. I mean,
I call him out on that all the time.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, that's the beauty of of what you guys have and like that awesome community of fans that I'm glad to be a part of, and it's just. You know, but I don't want to listen to myself, and I don't really want to do long form, at least not right now, because that's why listening to other podcasts is so big for me, because I don't have the opportunity to speak into the microphone and give my 2 cents. So I have to listen, and it helps me to become a better listener. Because people will talk to me and they'll say, "Man, you're so good, you're so smart, you're so political." I'm like, no, I'm not smart. I just know facts. I'm like, I drink and I know things, right? I have no ability to apply them. Right. You know, so that's
there's a difference between knowing facts and being actually an intellectual.
I can tell you all about abortion law. I can't write a new one. You know that, but I want to be able to do that. That's why I've thought about running for office. But
you could do it if you challenged yourself. You're smarter than you think.
Possibly could, but it's like.
But you're not in a position to ever have to do that.
Right, I'm not in a position to ever have to do that. But
unless you run for office,
I just want to be able to tell people that what they think is stupid, what I think is right. You know, and it's that won't go over very well. Okay, can you imagine if I ran for Congress? I mean, seriously, in a high-profile race against the top GOP guy, if I got enough traction, they would have a field day with my podcast. Oh,
they would kill you. Yeah,
you know, that's why I don't use my real name.
Right.
You know, I mean, you could very easily figure out who I am. I mean, I don't really hide it, but I just don't throw it out there either.
Well, the thing is, that's good because I don't throw out my real name either, just like in case an employer were to see this. Like, I don't want them to catch a snippet and get the wrong idea or have any sort of reason to let me go. So if you Google my name, like my first and last name, you won't find this podcast, which is smart. So even for you, if you Google your first and last name, you're not going to find your podcast. You're only going to find your Facebook
and my LinkedIn,
maybe and your LinkedIn, right? So it is smart, I think, to not use your full name unless you're making all your dough off of this.
The only one of us that does that is TJ, and his name is TJ Johnson. Good fucking luck finding the right TJ Johnson.
Right, his is the most generic name ever.
Right. So it's it's like Lisa Smith. I mean, give me a break here. You're never going to find the guy, but it's. You know, I don't know. I got nothing.
I was gonna say I enjoy listening to your pod.
Thank you.
I would say I think
why.
You know, it's because you first off you're very well informed. Big Haas is super passionate.
Well more informed than I am.
Who? Big Haas?
Haas, yeah.
He's also very well, but he's also got that fire. You know what I'm saying? He brings that edge where he's like, motherfucker, fuck that guy, all that stuff. TJ's got
he's also very funny.
He's very funny.
Yeah.
TJ's got that host voice.
That's your boo.
And me and TJ are on the side doing some stuff. So But then, like for me, I'm like, damn, you get like some crazy, amazing guests, and you have the balls to just reach out to these people. I'm just not on Twitter enough to even look at this and find guests.
I will pass them all over to you, brother. Like
I appreciate that.
We have a filmmaker coming on soon. We have Ren coming on this week, who's a phone sex operator, right?
She's coming on. She's
coming on our show,
and she's supposed to come on my show next week.
Yeah, so she's going to have a big week of podcasting and Danger Entertainment, I guess.
Yeah.
And Tangent. We're on like a lot of the same networks. But then we have an actor or a guy who's a filmmaker coming on. We have
and you're on Twitter and you're just like, that guy seems interesting.
This guy Kyle Hester, who is he made a movie called The Prophet, and he's another movie called Preacher 6.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be coming on our show. We had a guy who was the guy coming on who helps write the comic book Falcon, who is we're talking about getting on right now. I've had on tons of political candidates, especially during the election that just happened, the midterms.
They're happy to come on, huh?
Happy to come on because, a lot of these people are, especially the ones who are, underdogs.
Mm-hmm.
They'll take whatever you can get. Free advertising is free advertising.
Right.
But the funny thing is I've invited on a lot of GOP people, and they're not interested in that conversation.
What conversation? Being on a podcast or having a conversation with you?
Having a conversation with me.
Mm.
They don't. That's what I'm saying. They don't want to talk to me because I'm going to hold them to task. The Democrats have been more willing to engage on the places like when I ask them if feminism has gone too far. A lot of them will say yes, it has, or they'll say no, it hasn't, and here's why I think that.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans, they have no facts right now. Their party is in disarray, and there are some beautiful and great cornerstones to the conservative politics that I think are very important. The Second Amendment is important, but we don't have to have AR-15 stop including that in the conversation.
Right.
But there are some important ideas there, and the concept of morality should have been on the right. But now, can you imagine that the Christians are the immoral ones now? And that's what it is. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
It's the left that is censoring things now. It used to be the right that censored things. Now it's the left.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
And it's like, but these candidates will come on.
The left. I mean, we talk about it on Jock and Nerd not all the time, but we touch upon how
because Rug Boy,
right? Rug Boy will bring up like you can't do an accent now on TV. You can't have a white guy playing a Mexican. All sorts of weird shit now. That's like, wait a minute, what's going on? Is the left is now censoring us?
How did Robert Downey Jr. get away with Tropic Thunder? Is what I want to know.
Was that how did he get away with that?
Yeah.
How did Robert Downey Jr. get away with
that? Yeah, I mean,
it was released right before this started becoming a thing.
But it was also done in a way where they were totally making fun of.
They were making fun of it. Of
him, right?
Yeah.
Like his character. The greatest line is, "What do you mean, you people?" And then the actual black guy goes, "What do you mean, you people?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, we cool, right? No, we're not fucking cool. It's like that line from Pulp Fiction.
Right.
You okay? No, man, I'm pretty fucking far from okay. I just got raped in the ass by the gimp. It's mind numbing to me how this divisiveness in this country is.
Do you think that'll?
No, it's going to get worse.
It'll get worse.
Yeah.
It'll get worse as long as Trump's in office, or even after it'll get worse.
It'll get worse as long as he's in office, but it probably will get worse after he's out of office because who's next? His son? Who are they going to try to? They're going to look for someone else. Now they have the formula.
Yeah.
And they like the formula.
It's scary that worked.
So I used to think that Trump would destroy the Republican Party. I think I might be changing my mind.
So you're thinking he might have given everyone the formula now to how to win?
He's given them the formula of how, when you preach to fear, you are able to drive people to the polls. People do, I'm not against the wall. I think the wall is a fine idea. I'm against a racist wall.
Right.
I'm against the wall that is meant to keep women out who are seeking asylum. because you're afraid that the guy might come here and 1 out of 170 of them might rob a bank. When you have hillbillies flying Confederate flags and forming militias right under our noses, and it just doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't like. I understand that most people don't think they're racist, and but we all have implicit bias. All of us. Me, I do. Mm-hmm. I have 2 black kids, and I have implicit bias. I see an Asian guy, I assume he's smart sometimes. I see I see a black guy, I assume, there might be that 1/4 of a fleeting second where I make sure I lock my car door. Right. But obviously these things are based, stereotypes based on fact, but some fact at least. But the idea that we shouldn't have the same opportunities is it's lost upon me. It's foreign to me. I don't understand it. And I will fight it. Like my dad is a big Trump supporter. He goes, well, what are you doing about it? Dad, I have a podcast. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm doing about it. You know what I mean? I am going to fight for centrism, and I'm going to fight for morality, the morality that my dad instilled inside of me when he was not supporting this person, and when he would have not even been able to imagine supporting a guy like him.
Let me ask you something like this real quick about that before we go, because I saw the same thing with my father. He was a staunch Democrat, and then over time,
right,
he came over, and now he voted for Trump, and it's something that it doesn't divide us, but it's something where we just don't disagree and we don't even talk about it. Where do you think that changed for your dad, where he decided, because it seems like he wasn't always someone that would vote for someone like Trump?
He's a 1-issue voter on abortion.
Say that again. You were paused there.
He's a 1-issue voter.
Okay.
Abortion.
Okay.
He buys into the Kavanaugh thing that they raked the good man through the coals.
My dad buys into that as well.
Right. But it's, if you asked me, I would say that he probably did it. And I think that, and again, he didn't rape her. He just was being forceful with her. And if he would have come out and said, you know what, I don't really remember that incident. I do remember her. I did have a tendency to get drunk back then. And if I did do that, I am so sorry, because that's not who I am. Mm-hmm. I don't recall. I honestly don't. But I am so sorry if I did that to you. And if there's anything that I can do to try to make that okay and help you through that, if he would have come at it like that, personally, there are people who wouldn't have forgiven him because the left doesn't know how to forgive. Mm-hmm. But there are I think most people would say, you know what, that's probably a pretty genuine answer.
Right.
But he didn't do that. He
took the Trump approach, right?
Yeah. Deny. When, and the left again loses their mind on this too, because they have that hashtag that you should believe all women. That's not, you shouldn't believe all women. You should take their claims seriously and then determine if it's right or wrong. Women did not, I'm quoting Bill Maher here. Women did not forget to lie after 2016. They didn't forget how to lie.
Right.
They still know how to do it. So, but it's such a difficult thing though to have my dad support someone who, my dad has 2 black grandchildren, mm-hmm. half black, and 2 half Mexican grandchildren from my current wife. And, I'm like, Dad, there's hate mongering going on that is riling people up against your grandchildren. You do not want a part of this. But I haven't gotten through to him yet. I will, but I haven't gotten through to
I like
him
that
yet.
I like that you're confident that you will.
Because I know that in my heart, in his heart, my dad is a good person. Mm-hmm. And I know that he thinks he's doing the right thing. But you know what? When what did Spider-Man say to Cap? You're wrong. You think you're right.
And that makes you dangerous.
Yes. And that line is so true. It's on the top of my Twitter profile. It's now, as it turned out, both of them were wrong. And that's also usually true.
Right.
Not
everyone. Now no one's ever 100% right. Usually.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, we're just going to keep on doing the good fight and looking forward to the next. You going to see Spider-Man? I'm not sure that I'm.
What a hell of a transition there.
Yeah, because
we were talking about Spider-Man's quote, so you're right.
Yeah, but like I don't know that I'm even gonna go see that right away because like I'm just exhausted. Like
I remember in my review of Avengers Endgame, I saying out loud that I would be cool if this just ended, like this was it for a little bit. Yeah. I'm gonna see Spider-Man right when it comes out because it's just I'm on the bandwagon, but I am a bit. I'm not tired of it, but I am just like, we don't need any more right now. Let's just take a break.
I would have liked to have seen Spider-Man come out for Christmas.
Yeah, it feels too soon to just be going into a Spider-Man movie. And it looks like they're acknowledging some stuff from Endgame. But overall, the vibe still seems like it's going to be kind of like a happier vibe, and it just seems too soon.
Yeah, well, Sony, I think they have their say.
Yeah, Sony.
They want their money.
They want their money right now. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. Well, we're at over 2 hours. I think this was good conversation. Anything you want to plug before you get out of here?
If you really want to listen to a semi-decent podcast, check out Voice from the Underground. And what I would encourage people to do is, like, if you really like Voice from the Underground, if you like Jock and Nerd, check out our podcast networks. Like, check out Danger Pods, check out Tangent Bound. Google these things, look at some of these other networks that we're on, because there's so much good independent content out there for smaller podcasts. I'm not saying don't listen to Joe Rogan. I'm not saying don't listen to Shapiro or Sam Harris or these big guys or the Young Turks, but give the independent guys a shot. I mean, yes, there's 8,000 true crime podcasts out there. You don't want to listen to all of them, but check out these indie pods, because there's some really smart people out there doing some really great things. And I'm just so proud to be a tiny little piece of this amazing community. I truly am.
Yeah, I echo all those thoughts, especially being proud to be a part of this. This is, it's been 4 years now since I started doing this, and this has opened my life up in ways that I never thought were possible. I thought I was just starting a podcast with Imran about shit that doesn't matter, comic books. Mm-hmm. And now I'm talking to you about, our philosophies on abortion and what's going on in the world and where it's going. Like, I never would have thought like this, and I never would have met you. So, like, I would never have met a ton of people. So This has been amazing, and yeah, I echo all your thoughts. So thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, no problem. We're looking forward to having all you guys back on also. So thank you.
Yep, definitely.